celebration of Black History Month and American Heart Month, I have joining me today celebrity chef Tre Wilcox. He's going to share some interesting recipes to reduce fat, calories, and sodium without sacrificing the rich and savory flavors of soul food favorites during this month. Thank you for joining me today, Trey.
Thank you for having me, Makiva.
Now, how can families create healthy soul food for their families?
Say that again.
How can families create healthy soul food for their families in order to celebrate Black History Month?
Well, I definitely think that buying the leaner cuts in a grocery store is where you want to start. When I grew up, my grandmothers, my mother were always frying and just kind of submerging pork chops in grease and flour. And nowadays, you want to look for the leaner cuts of so pork tenderloin, your pork loin chops, your pork porterhouses are the first things we're going to look to select. And then we're going to kind of see how can we pack in flavor? How can we get creative with this thing? And so I definitely encourage everyone to go to the Pork Be Inspired website to check out some of these cool recipes that I've put there and that they've also shown me some really cool recipes too. One of them being the sizzling chili pork chops. Now I gotta say this one, tons of flavor. We're talking smoked paprika, chili powder, where we've got salt, we've got garlic powder. So when you take this and crust it on top of your pork chops, it makes a really delicious flavor. And so that's kind of what I've done here is this, I just want to really pack in the flavors. Now me, I'm a Texas boy, so I'm always going to go for the grill. And so that's kind of what I've did with my pork chops, which again, very great way of alternatively keeping from frying pork. Grilling and baking is one of the best ways to prepare your porks. And so the sides that can go with all these porks, you want to keep those in mind for something that's good for you too. So I'm just using corn and kale for this dish, and I feel like they're great side items. With my jerk seasoned pork tenderloin, that one I'm using, I like to use sweet potatoes, and also I like to use a little bit of some rice, maybe mixed with some cilantro, which is really delicious as well too. So
That sounds delicious.
yeah.
Now, you mentioned some of the older ways that traditional ways of cooking dishes. Can you tell us you touched upon this earlier, but what are some of the healthier cooking methods?
Well, definitely grilling. You can never go wrong with grilling. One of the best and healthiest outdoor cooking is always a great way of cooking too. Definitely a fan of baking and broiling pork in the oven as well too.
Those are some really good methods. Now, you mentioned that dish you have there. What are some of your other favorite healthy dishes?
Well, like I said, this is one of my favorites. The jerk spice pork is very delicious. That one we combine pumpkin spice and brown sugar and salt, and we rub that across the meat, and then give it a really nice good sear in the pan. Now, one of the things when we're cooking pork, we want to make sure our ovens and our grills are all preheated, so we can sear in and lock in all that flavor on the flesh of the meats. And so I just encourage you to really, I can give you a ton of recipes, but I can tell you this, you can find them all on the Pork Be Inspired website.
That's good to know. Now, some people tend to shy away from beef, but it's actually quite nutritious. Can you tell us some of the nutritional benefits of using lean pork?
Nutritional benefits are that, you're gonna have more of the lean meats that incorporates a healthier type of fat. When we're looking at other meats that we won't mention, those types of fat aren't good for you. And so pork has one of the lowest amounts of fat, and it's very lean, and it's one of the kind of things that you want to incorporate into a healthier diet. It's going to be really good for you.
And that's great information. Now, you touched upon lean meats of pork. Can you share what are some of the lean cuts of pork that people should look for when they go to the grocery store?
Totally, totally. I mean, right now, with partnering with the National Pork Board, I've seen a ton of the leaner meats now all get into the market. So you're seeing a lot more of your pork loin, pork chops. You're seeing a lot of pork tenderloin. There's a lot of pork porterhouses that are coming into. And just look at these awesome cuts of pork loin that I have here. These kind of cuts of meat are very delicious. They'll fill you up in probably 4 to 5 ounces of meat. You'll find a lot of these lean cuts in the grocery stores right now and every day.
That's good information, though. And lastly, Trey, you touched upon some of those seasonings that you use for your dishes that you have there. What are your expert suggestions for some herbs and spices and other seasonings that people can use at home to really bring out the flavor of their pork dishes?
Well, I'm a big fan of marination. I think that's one of the things that people sometimes look over when it comes down to preparing meats at home. So marinating something is going to give you that extra benefit of saying something's going to have a delectable and delicious flavor. So I'm suggesting herbs like thyme, garlic, shallots, all chopped up really fine, mixed with a little bit of oil, and then put those into a Ziploc bag and mix that with the pork. And then the next day, go to that sizzling chili pork rub that I have created, and that's on the porkbeinspired.com website, and then pack it with that flavor. And so what you have is marination packed with a spice rub, mixed with a delicious piece of grilled meat. You know, it's just taking the time sometimes that makes food delicious.
Those are some really great spices to use. Thank you so much for those. And for more wonderful recipes with pork as well as other tips and ideas on cooking pork this season, visit www.porkbeinspired.com. Thank you so much, Tre. It's been a pleasure.
Right on. Thank you for having me.
You have a wonderful day.
You too.